but we have to have a team where we learn, because if we don't learn every day, we're going backwards. We just are, or we get frozen, and being frozen is a recipe for disaster in life and I think, in many, many levels. And so I want to embrace more and more and more as long as I can.
Welcome to the Natural Products Marketer Podcast. I'm Tina.
And I'm Amanda, and we're here to make marketing easier for natural products businesses so you can reach more people and change more lives.
Ed Jones, thanks for joining us. So for those that don't know Ed, I've known Ed for a long time. Mm-hmm. Dear friend, great boss that I had for many, many years. So Ed is with Nutrition World in Chattanooga, industry legend. So really, really happy to be with you today, Ed. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Amanda, so much. And I love you too and your family. And it's all just wonderful how all things worked out, and you're back kind of working with us again.
Yeah, it's great. So we wanted to just pick your brain on how, you're successful. I mean, you've been so successful over the years. And I think so much of that has been your dedication to quality products and how particular you are with vetting all of the products that you get on the shelf. So can you just walk us through kind of what that process looks like? And from the time that you first encounter a brand, whether it be at a trade show or someone just stops in, to even as they've been on your shelf, how do you make decisions whether they stay or whether they go?
That's not an absolute one ticket solves all these problems. And it certainly in almost 46 years, the old school methods were different than the new school methods. I use a lot of intuition these days, one of which is I go to their social media platform. You can get a lot from Instagram if you hear the consumers or the testimonies from people who have used the product, or you can get a sense of their ethics. If they look like, and I hate to use the word hustlers, but if they're hustling it to just simply sell a product to make a lot of money, it's pretty apparent. It's hard to hide a hustle. It's easy to see the authentic nature of someone if you look at YouTube's or you look at their mainly Instagram and then maybe Facebook and see what kind of postings they're doing. Secondly is demand some paperwork, demand some certificate of analysis. If you have any questions of heavy metals, I'm huge about the metals and the molds, and I want to have some defining confidence that is being tested. I don't demand perfection on that. I mean, we know the soils have certain things that we can't eliminate fully, so it's not like I have to have 100% free of everything. But if they're unwilling to test, it gives me some skepticism. So between their social media, they're demanding certificate of analysis or requesting, and those are two big ones. Thirdly, personality, like at a show. If you've been doing this a long time, you start getting a second sense of these people really care. These people really know. I mean, you walk up to, I'm just going to use an example, Vital Planet. You go up to there, or True Grace, or some of these companies that are, privately owned. It's very apparent that they are on their game. Or even people like Life Extension, that they're on their game when you start talking to them. It's pretty apparent. So that's where a beginner would have a hard time, but with some experience, it's not that actual difficult. But again, demanding some actual confirmations of certain things, because even the best companies can have something that they didn't check or slip through. And we want to be the protector of this industry within our city. And when the clients that we have almost 400 a day who come through here, they come because of trust. And that is paramount to me, is to continue that trust factor with the products that we carry. I mean, we eliminate probably 1 to 2 products a month because it starts to be a little bit suspicious. And I don't say every time a local or a privately owned company sells to a big corporation, that doesn't mean always that it's terrible. But we eliminated Bragg's vinegar. And it wasn't because just they sold, it's because we started getting feedback. And our feedback is the other thing. It isn't the same as it used to be. I don't feel the same. So we felt that even though I couldn't put a finger on it, I felt like, we better not keep doing this. And we posted a post that we eliminated Bragg for this reason. So doing those things and then telling the public why you did them is very important.
Yeah, so it sounds like to me there's a few factors that go into this, which I love because there's so much out there where it's publicized regularly that supplements don't have what's on the ingredient label, that they don't really contain all the efficacy of the products that they're getting out there. But it sounds to me like you're looking for that to make sure that you've got like paperwork. You're making sure it's alignment with your culture, which is consumer first and taking care and building trust. And then you've got customer feedback going on. So if a customer is telling you this is working, or if you start hearing, hey, it's not working, you're going to have that product under review. Absolutely.
And the last thing I tend to forget is I do subscribe to consumerlabs.com. It is, it's always kind of controversial. Sometimes companies will say they didn't test it right. But I can tell you that I believe that 90% of what they do is quite accurate. We have pulled products off probably more from Consumer Labs testing the heavy metals and the molds and the lack of potency than any one source that I've ever done. I don't pick products because of them, but I pull products off because of them. So I recommend any retail store or even a consumer or anybody concerned, go to consumerlabs.com. I will also say that about 85% of the products they test are perfect. They never have a problem. We have an industry that is pretty darn good at self-regulating.
So when it comes to local products, I think it's super important to support your local farmers and just local products as much as you possibly can, because I think as a local business, that's part of the draw of just local supporting local, and it just being this network of people that all support each other. So for farmers that like maybe can't afford, like a USDA organic certification or all of these certifications that cost thousands and thousands of dollars to get, how do you vet your meat, your produce, things like that from these local farmers that maybe don't have the paperwork to show it?
Well, the same way that you would build a relationship with a great friend, you get to know them. And you don't ever take it on face value for the first time you meet them. It is about learning who that person is. And you know this very well, both of you, that when a person has a passion, they don't hide it. You sense it. And these farmers, like Farmer Bert that we have now, he comes every Saturday. I mean, he gets up in the morning for his growing of healthy foods in soil that he has protected almost like he would a pet. And he's done that for so long, and he loves his customers because they're going to ask him every question known to man, as we did when he first started. And it is kind of like going on a date. You don't just jump right in. You start slow, you work up, you get to know somebody, and then now after it's probably been a year, that farmer has now established themselves as great credibility. Most of the local foods that we get, between Katie, myself, the people in this store like Christy who really deal in local foods, first off, we consume it ourselves. Secondly, we ask the deep questions. What kind of treatment do you do if they're sick? Do you give antibiotics? Do you not? What happens if you do give an antibiotic? Do you sell the animal? And then secondly, what foods do you feed those animals? It's not perfect, but I don't expect perfection, but I expect a far better choice than I would at a normal store that doesn't ask those questions. And I feel really solid with the connections we've had with our local people, all the way from the honeys to even the soaps, you name it. We really become their friends, and they're our friends. And we've had a couple times where we started to distrust just because of vague reasons that we couldn't put our finger on. And I think following intuition is one of the most important things as we age. I think when we're younger, we may not have the ability to connect with your intuition, but as we age, if you do develop that skill, it speaks very strongly to us. And most of the time that I don't follow that intuition, I generally regret it.
Well, I was thinking about, like, a lot of times local is so good because the biome that's in the soil is exactly what we need for our area. So maybe it reduces allergies or things like that happen. So the trade-offs between going to a big box store and getting organic or even regenerative farming, which I love. I love supporting regenerative farming right now, but at the same time, it might not be from this area. And honeys from the area or getting things from the soil in the area, I just always think it's a better choice than even organic or something that you can get at some of the bigger box stores. What do you think about that?
I tend to agree with that. And one is like several of our farmers, they'll bring the foods that they harvested that 2 days ago, 3 days ago. You're not going to get that at most grocery stores. I mean, it just can't happen. It's not practical. So I'm hugely invested in that. And I'm also, again, invested in the fact that we can ask the person questions who actually grew the food. The honey that we sell here, it just was the best honey I've ever had. But does that mean it's the best quality? No, but I start asking questions of this, that, and whatever. And of course, a lot of these are interesting older people who have developed a whole life of farming. I'm not a farming person, but they're really cool people, and they're really neat to talk to, and they're salt of the earth sometimes, there's no doubt. And I love doing it because you can see that they put their heart and soul into it. And there's very few things in life, if a person puts their heart and soul into it, that doesn't come out to be a very positive. But again, I think you're right. It just the more local we can become, because we weren't really meant to eat bananas from other parts of the world. As if you look at kind of the way the world has developed over the tens of thousands of years, it doesn't hurt us to do it, but I think it's better if we can support our own body with the energies, just the energies alone from the local soils.
I am curious because I know, just because I've known you guys for so long and have seen kind of just the transformation of your store over the years. I know you had a lot of, grocery early on when Chase and I started working for you 8-9 years ago. And that kind of went away once all the gluten-free and all of that kind of went more mass market. And then we kind of focused more on supplements. And then now you've started bringing in more of the grass-fed meats and more of the organic produce and things like that. What caused that shift to go back into more of the food again? Not that you have a lot of dry goods, but to bring in more of the fresh product.
Well, I think the word commodity, we wanted to get out of the commodity foods. What are those? Those are the same crackers, the same soy sauces, the same all those things that you normally, dressings. They're found everywhere. We don't need to do that. We want to support people's health where they're having difficulties finding the items that they need to feel comfortable with growing older, being healthy, giving their kids things. And so it is... And also, I tended personally to kind of switch into more of an animal-based, not really straight carnivore, but I've started seeing the results of a higher protein diet than I used to eat. And I also started sensing the more and more dangers of eating animal products that were not raised properly, and then also seed oils and things like that. And the more research I really delve into as I get older, the more I want to commune back to what I think is the natural way that our bodies need to have the proper oils and fats. And it is from the tallow, and it's from the olive oils, and it's from beef, and it's from things like that. And seed oils, which are the canolas. I mean, I remember we had end caps of canola oil 25 years ago. We had no idea. You do the best you can with what you know at the moment with knowledge. We truly thought it was a healthy oil. We carried canola before a grocery store carried it, then the grocery store carried it, and now we would never carry it because it's so unhealthy. But I really think we fine-tuned our knowledge base at this point, certainly better than in history, and it is time to offer that to people who really don't have that offering anywhere else. And also the fact that most of it's local, a lot of it, and you're not going to find that at the big grocery store.
Yeah. So talk to us now about practitioners. That's a big part of what you guys do, some referrals back and forth between people who are integrative or holistic in nature and can help bridge the gap between what you guys do, which are natural products, and also the medical community. I know that you guys are involved in that community and helping bridge that gap. So I'm just curious, how do you know when it's a good practitioner that you can sort of bring into the fold and do referrals back and forth, or even have them here at the wellness clinic?
Yeah, well, great question, Tina. And I think the word bridging the gap you said is really ideal, because the complexity of putting a plan together to stay healthy, be healthy, and age gracefully is not a one-shot deal. This isn't like you're going to get new tires for your car and you just go and you find the right ones, you put them on. There's so much that comes into how do we stay healthy, be healthy. And I think that it's more complex today than it ever was before COVID. And without any super explaining that, I'm not blaming everything on a shot. But I do think that just the infection alone has caused a lot of grief. I think mold is causing a tremendous amount. And so having a team approach, and I constantly talk on my radio show, Vital Health Radio, about creating a team. And part of that team is how do we learn what we need to take the next step toward? Who do we trust? What kind of ideas can we believe in? And to do that, you got to have people that can walk with you down this path. You got to have people you trust that can hold your hand and be informing of you, and they're there for you to ask questions when you're feeling pretty much confused or down or frustrated, because your regular medical doc's not going to be that. I'm hugely invested in the value of regular general practitioners and traditional medicine. I mean, I have 2 new hips. I wouldn't have done that anywhere but a traditional hospital, of course. But for chronic aging, chronic diseases, and how many times are we asked, what kind of foods do you eat? Do you eat seed oils? How do you sleep? What's your stress level? What do you drink? Clean water? How many antibiotics have you taken? You don't get those questions. Those are so important. So you have to find people who are skilled in that. And we vet practitioners very, very strongly. At Nutrition World, we have 17 or 18 practitioners at this point, and we may have more in the future. The thing is, partnering with farmers is far easier than partnering with practitioners, because sometimes they don't have the skill set to understand that this is a team approach, and they kind of set up a solo business. If you don't watch it, that solo business will just kind of operate on their own. There's no real referring. And if we refer to them, there's no give and take. And it's not like you have to scratch my back for me to scratch yours, but there has to be a cooperation between practitioners and the core group, which is Nutrition World, myself, Katie, whatever. And sometimes it doesn't happen. And so I encourage anyone who's trying to develop practitioners to not lock yourself in a corner with a lease. Make sure that every year you review, are we helping each other to help each other? And with that help, it filters to the client and the patient. That's what we really want, is to help the end result, which is the client patient. But you can't do that if people are not communicating, if they're not talking, if they're not learning from the other people. The thing is, I'm frustrated sometimes because these little solo operations, they're doing exactly what traditional medicine's done, which is they've locked themselves behind some closed doors. They're not willing to create their own team of learning. Every morning I walk into this store, I have my team on the computer. I spend 45 minutes to 1 hour every single morning, 6 days a week, listening to a little bit of business like Gary Vee, but the rest of it's all Dr. Saladino, Dr. Peter Attia, Dr. Mercola, several of my, what I feel is confidence, have a lot of confidence in their skill set, because they know things I don't know. I want to learn from people that I can learn from, and I have to do it every day. I don't do this once a month. I don't go to a seminar for 1 day every 3 months and expect to get this. You get it in snippets, because that's the way we all work very well. I do 2 minutes of one person, 3 minutes of another, and I'll do an audio book sometimes driving. And I also believe in quiet time. So I don't just indulge all the time with chatter, but we have to have a team where we learn, because if we don't learn every day, we're going backwards. We just are, or we get frozen. And being frozen is a recipe for disaster in life, and I think, in many, many levels. And so I want to embrace more and more and more as long as I can.
So it sounds like you're looking for a way to help from all angles, and that you want all of these different practitioners talking to each other. So I'm just curious, like, what are the different types of practitioners that you're welcoming into the fold?
Well, I've determined, at least mentally, what is necessary. So what is necessary is someone who understands very deeply the effects of mold and Lyme, the effects of like Katie specializes in young children and pregnant mothers. We have people who, of course, work on the physical body, the chiropractor, the massage therapist, the gym, Max Fitness at the gym. We have individuals who do testing. We have blood testing. That's one of our practitioners that is very valuable. To be able to walk in and have the blood test that you want based on what you have learned is invaluable. Just did somebody yesterday who's been through the medical parade with all the things that they could do, and they cannot diagnose him. And I said, how much blood work have you done? And it's basically worth $30. Why have they not done more? So we can take control by doing things like that. Acupuncture, somatic therapy, psychological stuff. We need all these components. I mean, I've said this before. I think at this point, we almost do everything but surgery. Now, we also have a pediatrician. So a nurse practitioner. We have, I mean, I could just keep going on. We've covered almost all the spots. If we could truly integrate all of those, as I have done with my personal coaches, like nutritional positions for coaches that we have, that's under the umbrella of me. They work for me. Well, when there's practitioners on the outskirts, which are all in this building, but they're independent. It's like they rent the space. That makes it a little more difficult in some ways to create that team approach. In other ways, it makes it less difficult for me because I don't have to manage. So I'm wanting independent people who can do their own thing and get their own paper clips every day and figure out their own phone problems, but can be almost like we're sister brother kind of situation. So it's a challenge. It is. But we have still accomplished a tremendous amount with having the platform that we have in this business. There's no doubt. Our business would not be where it is without these practitioners, because the practitioners alone give us credibility. That's the other thing. What do you think a GNC is known as? It's a vitamin herb store that's ran by high school students, basically. Nutrition will never be known by that because we have mature, educated people who are partnering with us. So when I advertise Dr. Johnson on our billboard, a medical physician who's the only Chattanooga integrative physician there is, what do you think they think of Nutrition World? Because he's at Nutrition World. They're like, wow, they must know what they're doing to have someone like that, and along with the other 16 people. So I'm encouraged. I don't call myself a nutrition store anymore. I call it a wellness center, and that's what I want. That's what I've always longed for, is a wellness center, something that would cover the bases of people as we age. You don't really need this probably till you're 40-ish. Some people do come, but the aging population, which is growing significantly, needs this because the traditional model is broken. It's still operating what Peter Attia talks about, medicine 1.0. We need to be on medicine 2.0, which is we actually look for the reasons why we're sick. Look for the reasons of how do we actually get healed and well, instead of putting a Band-Aid on with certain pharmaceuticals that make you feel like you're okay, or your blood test looks better and your cholesterol is better because you took a statin. Those aren't fixing the machine at all. There's times and places for those, yes, but they're going to end up quit working, and then you're in a worse situation because you wasted 5 to 10 years of not actually fixing the issue at hand.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love about what you guys do is you're talking about you can put a physician on your billboard and advertise, and that gives you credibility. But gosh, Dr. Brian Johnson is booked up now. So you guys have given him credibility as well. Like, he's going to take the whole body and the whole health view of your health and help you get well naturally, as well as help you if you need medicine. So I think it gives him credibility too.
It does work both ways, because when a traditional person steps outside the medical model, they're facing some challenges, especially that we're not on the other side of the United States. They become kind of an odd character, and they don't have any referrals from their peers because this doesn't work in the medical model. I mean, Dr. Litwin's the pediatrician. She's very busy with us. Brandon, he's amazingly skilled in the mold issue that is beyond belief, and parasites. Those are his two skill sets. So I want people who are passionate about a narrow view of, not a narrow view, a passionate that in this certain avenue of health, that they're so passionate that they're an expert. They're not an expert about everything, but they're an expert in what they talk about. That's what we want, is those kind of experts. As like you in your business, you are considered an expert in your business. And as I age, we have to have those people on our team. That's the people who make me look good. So that's the kinds that we need to get, and also the kinds that we need to get rid of when they're not producing A or at least B level effects. If there are C's and below, it's time to move on and find somebody else.
So for our listeners that don't have the facilities to house practitioners in-house, or even like just in their strip center, wherever they are, how would you recommend them going about finding these practitioners in their community and developing these referral relationships with if they can't have them on site?
It takes effort. And this is not something you're going to send out a postcard once a year and expect anything to happen. It takes calling on them, reminding them, talking to them. The one thing I have done for 25 or 30 years, a customer comes in and says, hey, you won't believe I went to Dr. So-and-so or this other practitioner. I can't believe how much better I am. Tell me who they are. What did they do for you? We always write down their name. We write down where they worked at. We start the process of sending a thank you note. That sometimes is nice, but we have to keep reminding them. If you do something 2 or 3 times and in 6 months, that is almost like you didn't do anything. We send them Christmas cards. We send them gift cards at Christmas. I now have a person, Catherine, who will be visiting these people door to door we have like 28 people, physicians, and she'll be making these runs once a month with probably a small gift sometimes. Other times we're going to offer free lunches. I can get Adam, one of my coaches, very intelligent. He can come in and talk about specific topics of health. And we go in there saying, do you realize that 82% of all your patients are taking nutritional supplements, and probably 10% are telling you they are, and they are pursuing alternative options. And we are here to help you to be more empowered, that you can help your patient because they're wanting what maybe you don't have right now. And we do it very diplomatically, of course. So there are so many ways that you can produce that momentum, but it is a connection. You're going to work very hard in 10 people, you're going to work very hard and get 1 to 2. That's all you're going to get. But you got to throw the fishing line on all 10 because you don't know what 2 you're going to get. We have some hard hitters that will send us people every other day. Now, that's pretty amazing when you don't have to do any work for this. I don't have to run any ads, and they're going to walk in with a piece of paper, and they're going to say, my doctor said I need this, blank, 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 about, and it's not, a plain multivitamin. It's several things, and it builds such confidence. Back in the day, 25 years ago, one of the earliest physicians, Dr. Terry Smith, great, very intelligent man about nutrition, he had about 10 years where he really talked up nutrition because he believed in it. We still have people today with his sheet. That was 20 years ago. They worship that sheet of paper. They don't see him anymore, but they still come in and say, I need to get my stuff that Dr. Smith told me. And I know it was 20 years ago. So their credibility is humongous, and they go deep into patients if they can tell people. And you're the hero because they sent them to us.
We talk a lot about having this one-to-many approach. And so it sounds to me like that's exactly what you're talking about, is put in the work to get in with that one medical practitioner, whoever it is, and they are going to do the work for you bring you the flocks of people.
Flocks. And it starts slow, but once you get it going, they want a trusted partner too. They want to look good. They want to be the hero of the day. We all do. The biggest thing with practitioners, if they're medically based, is you have to honor what they want the person to take unless you know for a fact it's wrong, and which I've done a few times, and I would have to call the office and say, you didn't mean to take 4,000 milligrams of CoQ10, did you? And they would say, oh, no, it was 400. I put an extra 0 on there. So that just confirms to them that our credibility also. And most of them don't mind, like if you see that they weren't taking omega-3, that you might mention, hey, omega-3 is also very good for your health in these regards, but we can't take away what they want them to take. We have to be on it like a drugstore does, which is fine. Very ethical that way.
Well, perfect, Ed. I thank you so much for having us here first. Lovely studio. We don't get the opportunity to be together like this with our guests or even each other. So this was very nice of you to bring us in here and let us do this. But just your time, your brain, all of your experience that you bring to the table and letting us get this out to everybody. You guys do such an amazing job. You are still growing. You've been growing for a very long time. You're still growing by leaps and bounds. And you know there's still so much growth that's still out there. And you continue to add things to what you guys offer as the customers need it. And you realize that there's demand and that it will help other people. So first, thank you for doing that. Thanks for letting us be here. And of course, thanks for giving us your time and all your wisdom.
Well, thank you both. I care of the world for both of you, and you both are such helpers to Nutrition World as its platform does continue to grow. We will never run out of potential clients and customers. Because I go to places, and it's really interesting. I go to Starbucks on Saturday morning, I read for 3 hours, and I'll go to Panera's on Sunday, and I read for 3 hours. I never see one customer walk in those two places. So when I go to those places, one is I wonder why. And Need Loves, that's the other place downtown. Katie and I talk about, we never see a client or customer in any of those three places. Why is that? Well, one is they don't probably even know about us. I could probably ask them, do you know what Nutrition World is? Yeah, I've heard of it, but I don't even know where it is. But it also shows no one does what we do. So the potential to help other people who are clueless that this is even available is unlimited. And any nutrition store could access this. I don't care what town you're in. Now, I'm sure on the other part of the United States, more people would realize the value of it. But they don't realize what you can do to your health if you embrace and have a team to help you embrace what foods do we eat? How do we sleep better? How do we lower our stress level without pharmaceuticals and access the green pharmacy, access lifestyle? I think we are a ministry. I truly believe that. The people who are in this industry, as I am, who've been in it so long, it's not just about selling at all. It's really actually not about selling. It's about empowering and helping people on all the levels that we can and in the legal ways that we can do that. And we're in a position right now that we've never been in with less threats to our philosophy than we've ever had because the wave has turned. The momentum has shifted. There's no one who can call us old hippies who sell granolas and they're quacks. We're not quacks. And we can argue now to the ends of the earth with PubMed literatures and all the science behind what we do. We couldn't do that 15 years ago. Maybe 10 we could start. COVID helped us immensely in all regards because it showed the lackings of traditional medical thinking. Yeah, traditional medical thinking are very smart people in their avenue of thinking, but it also showed where they are lacking. And guess who picked up the pace from that? It has to be more integrative nutrition and more common sense. And we are common sense. Eat healthy. How do we do that? And there's all kind of ways, but let's have a team. Let's have a coach that can help us to learn how to eat and supplement healthy. So got me on a rant here. So sorry about that because it's my fault. So I've got to go now. You know what I have to do now? Eat lunch.
Yeah. That's right. But we think it's a ministry to you, which is one reason that we feel aligned with what you guys do. Your purpose is the same as ours. And so that's why we love working with you guys.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ed.
Thanks so much for listening to the Natural Products Marketer podcast. We hope you found this episode to be super helpful. Make sure you check out the show notes for any of those valuable resources that we mentioned on today's episode.
And before you go, we would love for you to give us a review, follow, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening today. And make sure you join us for our next episode where we give you more marketing tips so that you can reach more people and change more lives.